right in with your carpet there, doesn't she?
Mom. Mom.
Watch it.
Mom.
Grandma.
Every basket.
I
I
always
was watching
warned
the Cass Lake game. Every basket. We weren't even playing, but she was going.
I warned the people behind me and they said, oh, that's all right because you're short. And I sit down right away too. But last night, Friday night, we sat beside Bonnie.
Do you want to be a little
Yeah.
girl?
What?
Grandpa.
That one and there's another one.
Where's the other one? Hi.
Look at the other one. Look.
Merry Christmas.
The other one's pretty puny. We felt sorry for it. We figured it was
Oh. Merry Christmas. Start serving. Joe. Ray.
I've already spoken for something.
Come on. Downstairs.
There's Fritz on the steps. Are you paying off your speeding ticket? That's why I dug. That's why I dug deeply, dear, today.
What do you mean? That's supposed to make it right?
Yeah, that'll pay it off.
Yeah, right. Remember, next time I get a speeding ticket, you better not say anything.
I don't lecture, do I?
Oh?
Sarah, no.
Well, might as well lay it in.
Digging a trench from our new well here.
Oh, man.
Oh, I can't guess.
I think it's a truck. That's what I think.
Oh, let's see, what
How
could
about a
it be?
baseball glove? Yeah, Grandson
it could
Grandson
be
needs another
6 bottles.
baseball glove.
I mean,
6 bottles.
I know I don't have any baseball gloves. I gotta get a baseball glove.
Bottles of
So it's
Oh, yeah, I'll bet there is.
soda.
Huh?
no, there's not.
Yeah, there is.
It's
It's a truck.
Tell him.
it's 4 packs of soda.
For what?
4 packs of soda.
Oh!
Oh,
Someone did a good job of
boy.
wrapping this. Did you wrap this, Chris?
Just rip it off.
Huh? Well, we gotta save the paper.
No, we don't. We're not saving any of this.
Maybe Mom wants the paper.
Oh,
No.
we gotta go to Target one of these nights and load up for next year.
There you go. Just rip it
I
off.
think
We
it's
don't
a-
care.
I think it's a truck.
No.
Or a baseball glove. Huh? Oh, I bet. Oh! What a big box.
Woo! What do I see?
It looks like a shirt. Huh?
Big shirt.
The
Yep,
big
Grandpa,
shirt.
you're right.
Looks like-
Big shirt.
Looks like one of
Do you know where the second time was?
Who wrapped this thing? Did you wrap it? Huh? Ah! That's really hard to open. I've got a pull on it. Ah, come on, help me. Help me. Ah! Oh.
Don't break it, you guys.
Wait now, wait now, wait now.
Oh, don't say anything.
Wait now.
Don't tell
It
him.
doesn't look like a truck. No? Not like
It's
a
a
truck.
Kjolhaug,
Doesn't
isn't
look
it?
like a shirt either.
Oh, yeah, it looks like a shirt. It looks like a shirt. It looks like a, it looks like a shirt. Oh, needle. I think Dave's gonna have to, I bet she has to share that with somebody.
Oh, man.
Huh? Oh.
Oh, the kids.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
Oh, just listen to what Grandpa said.
Well, what did
Well, we'd have to probably read the
Grandpa and Grandma bring?
Lucas, watch what Grandpa's doing there.
Oh! Yeah, this looks to me like it's for Daddy. Yeah, that's for Dad. Let's see what Dad caught
We're
there.
gonna watch Daddy
Let's
open it
watch
now.
Daddy open it now.
Dad open it.
Come on, Daddy's gonna open his present.
Okay, I'll get it.
Here's mine.
You're gonna freeze yours, huh? What did he say?
I got the bloody one.
Oh, you
The last one.
the last one.
Who got that big?
I did.
Who got this big long one?
The big long one.
The
Luke,
big
you
northern.
caught it? Okay.
Touch the fish. No.
Chris, which one did you? Where's Christopher's on there? We got it. Okay,
Yeah.
This one.
right there. That
bass.
one's huge. That's huge for a bass, isn't it?
Oh, that's pretty good size.
Pretty good size. I guess so. Boy.
Dad caught another one about that big.
Luke, why don't you stand over there by Grandpa and Dad and everybody? We'll get you guys
Oh, I
on.
can't really hold this anymore.
Here, I better back
Look.
up.
Who cares?
Oh, what should I grandma?
No,
Grandpa's gonna open it.
that's from the boys, Kermit.
What?
That's from the boys. That is really to you from the boys.
Oh, to Grandpa and Grandma from Luke.
And
Who's this guy
Christopher.
here?
What is that? What is that?
Christopher.
Heidi, what is that
Is
that
that
you just
from you
put in
and
your bag?
Luke? Oh, gee, that's
Heidi, do you want to put your...
Maria, can you move a little bit so we can see it here? There you go.
Nice.
Oh, oh, oh. What did you put in?
Birdhouse. Give it.
Oh,
Wow, look at that.
man,
Oh my gosh, a homemade one.
Yeah, Christopher made it. He painted it.
That's wonderful.
Did you make that, Chris?
Yeah.
Did you
That's
make it?
Just a
great.
minute, honey. Not yet. Not almost your turn. Just wait.
Thank you so much. Should we put this outside, Christopher? Should you put
We
it in
should,
the house?
It's for you.
We should put a hook on there, Chris, for the birds, too, right?
Yeah.
Katie, open her. Deer. Oh, you're supposed to see a Siberian tiger.
Don't they?
But he just stayed undercover, you mean?
You couldn't see him.
Huh. And who went that morning?
Anna and Heidi.
Relay. Final call, boys junior high and varsity 800 meter relay. Second call, girls varsity 1600 meter run. First call, boys varsity 1600 meter run.
Really?
Here are the results of boys 100 meter varsity. Sixth place, Pete Rogers, Walker Hackensack Higley. Fifth place, Scott Swanson of Clearbrick Gundick. Fourth place, Noah Gilbertson, Walker Hackensack Higley.
There we go.
Third place,
And
Chris
a little bit of
Basinger.
Second, first, get out. And we are going to read together Psalm 100. It's in the red book, page 199. You want to read this? See, it says extra fine.
Luke, stop, please.
What you should do, you gotta kind of pull it back. You know, tell them, smooth. You're 52, 54, and a pair makes 10. And I have, Luke, can you count?
You?
Yeah. top of my head. That's right. And here makes 10. Right. Okay, right, good job. Huh? I moved you.
Yeah.
Didn't I? What did I do?
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
Ed and Carolyn are not going to be there this weekend, but we're going to stay there if there are more that we
Where
can.
are they going to be?
Oh, where are they going? Cancer thing or something?
But now let's see who is the biggest.
So,
Mine.
Yep.
I'm sure who's the biggest. Mine. Mine.
you should get the puppy, Kathy. That's the important thing.
We got him last
Ah.
She's the boss, isn't she?
Grandpa, here's the biggest.
Oh, should I eat that for you?
No.
Oh, come on.
I think Grandma was referring to the puppy when you said she's the boss, right? Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Thank you.
night.
We don't want to analyze this 10 years down the road. What is that? Well, don't say that, Pete.
I'm just stating the fact.
What did you say, Pete?
Nothing.
Well, it'll probably tape, so I'll catch it later. Yeah, I think it probably did tape.
Betty.
Say it, Peter.
He looks a little ruddish.
That's from the blood vessels.
That's from the broken blood vessels.
You seen me this morning, Kat, you wonder.
When he vomits, he really puts all of it into it. I don't mean in the dish either, I mean, whoa, that's really.
We have a long evening plan, or a long afternoon plan. Arnold said he's got an hour service for us. That's what you said, wasn't it?
I also said, yeah, you were gonna do it.
Now, what did you say there? Okay, well, this is wonderful. This is really great. You know, we've had these Memorial Day celebrations, you know, every year, and it's just so wonderful to see everybody here. You know, if I recall back when I was a younger person, I want to say how long ago that was, but it's a few years ago. You know, if we had a church full like this, that'd be considered a full house. So we're so grateful that everybody came today for Memorial Day, and of course for this baptism. And that's kind of special for us. I look here and I know that there are a good many of you, or at least several of you, that have been baptized here. That Arnold has been baptized here. And Mary, have you been baptized here in this church? What? Yeah. And probably building. You know, so this is really kind of special. We have the older, not old, but older people, and then we have younger people. And that's so great. You know, we can have young people and we can have old people. Another reason it's kind of special to Barb and myself is that our oldest child was baptized here in 1954. So I'm sure she wasn't the last person to be baptized here, but surely, you know, one of those was, you know, near the end of the time of the church. I was looking back there and I saw that the church was officially closed in 1966. So that was just about 10, 12 years. So there weren't too many people that were baptized in the church after 54. So anyhow, it's a special day for a number of different reasons. And we're here one of the, here to commemorate the baptism of Esther and Rebecca. Now, for those of you who don't know, Esther and Rebecca are our grandchildren. And they were adopted by Peter and Kathy. And they came from India, the latter part of January or something like that. What? What was it? February. Okay, they came in February. And can you imagine? You know, it's just hard for me to comprehend, but here these children came from India. They came from a Christian orphanage. I say some wrong things, Kathy. Correct. They came from a Christian orphanage. They came from India. It was warm, hot climate, and Peter and Kathy met them downstairs, down in Minneapolis at the airport. So you can imagine coming from India up to northern Minnesota, where you step out of the plane and say, we got a completely different environment. And I can remember, you know, so well, you know, when we first saw the children, and you know, you always wonder, you can't help it. But we saw them in the house. We came in early in the morning. And we got over the house in the late afternoon. Really here, Rebecca and Esther were here. So happy. They were so enthused, and there was no hesitation at all about coming to Barb and ourselves at all. It was just all open. And that, you know, kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into what the kids are like, because that's truly what they have been like. They've been really a joy to have around, a joy to be with them, and I know that they've been a joy to be with Kathy. But anyhow, Kathy asked me to have a little prayer, and you know, I was kind of looking for ideas, different things. Well, I came across something here, and I thought it was kind of appropriate because it's about children and family, and children and family are kind of near and dear to the heart of Barbara and myself, and as they are to any parent. But especially now, we're getting to be a little bit different, because we are not only children, we are grandparents. We have 21 or 22 grandchildren, so it's not like there's something new. But anyhow, I thought this was kind of a neat statement here because of the things that it said, and it kind of caught my eye. It's a little verse here from Proverbs, the 17th chapter, the 6th verse. And it goes like this: children's children are a crown to the aged, and parents are the pride of their children. You know what a great statement that is, that we can, if the children are our crown, and that we, as parents, can be proud to our children. And it says, and this is kind of a little nice little reading here, and I just like to go over it. It won't take an hour. We cannot change the past, and that includes the way we reared our children, all of us. If every parent I have ever met would love to step into the time tunnel and return to the island of the second chance, and I'm sure we've all thought about that. We would give anything to relive those years and correct the failures and mistakes we committed the first time around. All such fantasy wishes need to be erased. They can never be fulfilled. The parenting process offers only one pride per child, one day at a time, never again to be repeated. Someone once said, life is like a coin. You can spend it any way you wish, but you spend it only once. This is never more true than with rearing children. About the time we get fairly good at it, our kids are all young adults and gone, and having come closer than ever to perfecting the process, we suddenly realize that our children aren't listening, which means that we're qualified for one major role, and that's grandparents. And that's what Barb and I have now. We love being grandparents, and we hope that we can we can interact with our kids, and we can, in the process of doing this, help children and help us out. Okay, I'd like to just close with a little prayer here. Dear God, we thank you for this day. This is a special day. It's a special day because it's your day. Though the weather may not agree with us, it's still a special day because there are yet so many beautiful things for us to see and to look at. We have to, it's special to us for where we are, because we are in a church here that has a, there's a real heritage and there's some real family ties here. And those ties are so important. We just have to look around the church here and look out in the cemetery and we see those headstones, and it doesn't take much of an imagination to think about Joe and Axel and Sally and some of those others, old timers being here with us. So we have the old part. But then we also have something new today. And that is that we have a baptism here. Arnold's going to be baptizing Esther and Rebecca. And this is special too because Peter and Kathy are bringing those children to you, to follow you, to go in your graces. And we know that Peter and Kathy, along with Luke and Chris and Maria and Rebecca, they're going to work with the children. They're going to do good by it. The other thing that's a special day is that we have the day of baptism, we have the day of celebration. And the other thing I like to look at is all you have to do is look outside. And I think Barbara counted, I think there were 16 flags out there that were members of this area that gave their lives to the, preserving the heritage of our country and preserving the rights for us to worship as we wish. And that's something we just don't want to ever give up. So we have so many different things to be thankful for. And we appreciate all that you've done for us. And we ask that you would go with us as we leave here. And we ask that you would bless everybody who is here. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. I believe now we have some music. So Heidi and Maria are going to... Maria wants to play a little song for you. Don't want you to smile too much. Okay?
I'll try not
You try not to smile. And then it'll be okay. Okay?
Why don't you move in there, Luke,
Well,
a little
you should
bit.
have your other cap on, Kermit, like North Central Keys.
There you go. We'll get some free advertising in there. Move, look a little closer so I can get you both in one shot. Attaboy.
I told you.
Well, if you like it,
All right.
Okay, what kind of questions you want to ask?
okay, are you ready?
Yes.
What can you remember about the Weemy store?
What can I remember about
What can
the
you
music?
remember?
Okay, well, I can remember a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I can remember it was kind of it was a business center for Eddie Township. It was also a kind of a social center too, because they took the farmers and at the time that was not that those businesses were functional. There was a creamery there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everybody brought cream there. So what they would do, they bring the cream, and then they'd sit around, and just like going uptown now to the coffee shop.
Okay.
So everybody would sit around and talk about their calves and their cows and whatever else, maybe something about church, maybe something about politics or whatever. So it got to be kind of a social event, and everybody gathered, and it's kind of like an outing for the day or for they did it. I think they picked up cream. I think it was probably 2 or 3 times during the week.
Okay.
You see, so each day then they would all kind of be a lot of different guys would be down there.
Okay.
And we just spent a lot of time there. And of course, when way back when the community was first developing, you know, there was no cars. Everybody bought their, remember Grandpa Anderson, he'd bring his cream down there. He had, well, you've seen these, they were in a can about, well, they were a can about that high. Well, you know what, you've seen this can, haven't you? It's a milk container.
I'm sure it's,
You know, they're about this big around, and they had a lid on top, and so everybody would come down there with their cream cans.
Okay.
But, you know, going way back when, you know, people didn't have cars, or the roads weren't very good, or you know, they'd come down there with their horses. They'd come down there with I can remember going down there once with my Uncle Earl, and we went down there, and we all down with the sled, and we had 2 or 3 or 4 cans of cream, I just can't remember, and you know, that's the way the stuff was brought down there. Of course, as the community developed and you know, it became a little progressive, and the road became a little bit more better. You know, then they started to come with cars. But you know what? They didn't have roads. And I can remember when we went down there, we didn't go on the roads. This was in the wintertime. We'd go out in the fields because there was so much snow, and they didn't have equipment to plow the road. So you just, you know, you had to get down through the creamery. So wherever the least snow was, or that's where you went. And I can remember on Lingren's farm, there, you know, where Fritz owns that farm. You know, we didn't follow the road. We went out on those fields. So you go down there, and you had a butter maker there, and you know, you had a couple, 3 helpers, and they'd pick up cream in one day and drop their cream off, and then the next day would be the day that they would make butter. So they had great big, they were big vats with a kind of a mixer in there, and they would just churn that cream around, and finally you ended up with butter. And then they would take the butter out of these vats, and they had a kind of a square container. It was about the square, and about that, you know, about that high. And then they would take the butter out of the vats, and they would plop it in there, and then there were and fill that thing up, and there were little wires going across this way. So when they cut the butter, these squares that you see now, they'd have something to go right down, and they cut it into these pound, and then they would wrap that.
Okay.
Wrap it in a little plastic or cellophane type of covering.
Okay.
And they had the creamery was, you know, they had a big boiler in there, so there was a lot of wood that was brought down there to heat the boiler to generate the heat. And then also there was, you know, aside from the creamery, which was, you know, the place where the farmers brought their cream, you know, they had to, as things developed, and you know, it's hard to think about this, but at one time, you know, they didn't have electricity. You know, everything was done by steam power or whatever else. But then finally we got electricity, and that was about 1940 or 41 or something like that. And then shortly after that, then they had what they call a locker plant. You know, where farmers, when they you know, they had their own, way back when, you know, when farmers slaughtered their animals for meat, if it was done in the wintertime, then it was okay, because, you know, it could be frozen. You wouldn't have to worry about spoiling. A lot of it was, of course, smoked and cured like your hams. But then in the summertime, if you want, then you could also can your meat. You know, of course, there was a lot of meat that was canned, just like vegetables. But then we got a locker plant. You know, and that was they had like small refrigerators. You know, in each guy, we had a locker down there. So when we had some meat that we were going to, you know, we'd slaughter a pig or a cow or something like that. We'd get it cut up, and then we'd wrap it, and they would do that too. They would cut and wrap the meat, and then they would put it in the locker plant, in the locker for us. So that was another part of the business, and of course that came later. The first thing that was there was the creamery, And then after the creamery, then you had a store. There was a store there, and you know, that's where farmers came to buy their, you know, their coffee and whatever else that they bought. And of course, at that time, people didn't buy so much. A lot of there was a lot of canning, so vegetables were either fresh or they were canned. But then there was this, and then in this little store, they had coffee and sugar and flour and some clothing. So that existed for a long, long time. And the other thing that was done at the store, and you probably don't, I know you don't. My cousin was Stanley Walker, and he used to work there, and they used to buy eggs. You know, every farm had a small flock of chickens. You know, 25, 50 chickens. Anybody that had 100 chickens, they were big in the poultry business, really big. And now 100 chickens just doesn't even count. But they used to buy eggs down there, and of course the farmers would bring their eggs down there, and the store would buy the eggs from the farmers, and then the farmers would turn around and use the money they got for their eggs to buy stuff at the store.
Okay.
See? So that was kind of that was, and then then they had a truck, and what Stanley was kind of in charge of this business of buying eggs, and they buy the eggs and they can them. They have to look at them, see whether or not they were good inside, and then they put them up in little cases. They were about this wide and about that long, and then he'd make a trip down to Duluth once or twice a week. You know, they take the eggs that were purchased and bring them to Duluth, and he had some big store or wherever, I don't know where he sold them. So he'd bring them down to Duluth, and then they would be sold down there. And then what he would also do when he brought the eggs down there, then, you know, they bought hardware, and he used to pick up the hardware and bring it back with his truck to the store. So then they would just turn around and sell, you know, nails or screws or barbed wire or big things like that. So that was kind of his thing, and that was really at one time that was really a going kind of business. They did a lot of activities in there. So then you had the store, and that was I don't know how many years that was in existence. And that was an important part. And the guys would come in there, you know, after they brought their eggs and cream, they'd come in and then they'd stand around and, you know, visit. And then there was a filling station down there too. You know, and I can remember that they used to sell gas to the farmers. The farmers isn't like now where the farmers would come out. They would come out to the farm with a big truck, you know, and fill up their gasoline tanks on the farm. And typically, what you did do, you know, it was still, we had small tractors, small farms. So the farmer would come in, and he'd come in there with a 50-gallon drum. And then he would fill up his 50-gallon drum and then take it back home with him. And that was he uses gas for a tractor, and he had oil and all that.
How much was gas back then?
What?
How much was gas back then?
I don't know, probably 10 cents or something like
10
that.
cents for a gallon?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Wow.
I would guess. I can remember when I was at Springfield that we bought gas for 15 or 20 cents a gallon.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So it's changed a lot. But the Weemy, you know, it was a thriving business community, because then people could take care of, you know, they had a store there. They could buy, you know, a lot of their food and clothes and a lot of their hardware goods. And then you had the creamery where they could, you know, they'd sell their produce, and they had a locker plant, and they had a gas. So people did, you know, they did their business at Weemy, and they didn't have to drive to Godmick or Clorbrook or something like that. So that was, you know, a lot more convenient. They had to go down there anyhow, so they would take care of their needs down there, a lot of their needs anyhow. So anyhow, that's kind of what Weemy was, and you had some other old communities around there that were kind of the same way. You had one over here south of Gully they called Olga, and it's the same thing. You know, they had their creamery and little store, and was a guy in Clearbrook that owned, he owned 3 or 4 of those stores. He had that one at Weemy, and he had one at Clearbrook, I think he had one at Florida. And so he was kind of a big business kind of guy. Kind of the same sort of thing. Anything else that,
Yeah. What do you like remember anything about the school that was there, or not really?
well, kind of. There was see, the school was on the farm, and at the time that,
On our farmland.
on our farm, and I don't think, I can't see, we moved there, it must have been in 43 or 44. I think the school was probably in operation until 1940 or 41 or 42, something like that. But I can remember my mother, who would be your great grandmother, was on the school board. She was a lady on the school board, and at that time, going back to 40, hey, that was something very, very different. She was, I was the secretary,
What was
treasurer.
her name?
What?
What was-
Florence.
Florence.
Yeah, Florence Kjolhaug. Her maiden name, of course, was Anderson.
Yeah.
You know. But she was on the school board, and then I can't recall just exactly when it was, but it must have been in 40, 43 or something, like 42 or 43. Then the kids started to be busted. Then they were,
Yeah,
then they were
busted.
busted into Clearbrook. I can remember, the bus, picking us up, but hey, it didn't pick us up where it picked you up. We had to walk down to the store to get picked up.
Wow.
So we had to leave home about, we probably didn't leave home any earlier than you do, but we had to leave home, and then in the wintertime we had to, we had to walk down. It was cold. We got 20, 30, 40 below weather, so you didn't spend a lot of time diddly-daddling around. So no, that was, but I retract some of that. There was a while when the roads were passable, the bus did come up in front of our place. But there were a lot of times where the roads were not passable, so the buses didn't pick us up, and then we had to walk down to the store or down to the corner down there, and then they would pick us up. And of course, in the evening, then we were, then we had to, they dropped us off there. I can remember some of those bus rides where the roads were not very good, and it was not easy many times. And it wasn't only just the snow, but some of the roads were really muddy. The ruts would be about, they get, almost so they could get stuck on the road. They weren't very good roads, but they're just barely good enough to get around. So that was hey, you got through it.
Yeah.
You got through it. So, anyhow, then there were times when things were really bad, when the weather was really bad in the wintertime. Then we'd go to town and stay. It was just buses couldn't pick us up, so we would stay in town. I remember one time, no big deal, but we had some really bad snowstorms, and we skied into town, and found a place to stay, and so it was kind of one of those experiences that you remember.
When was Florence a teacher at the school?
I don't know if she I don't really recall when she taught there. She taught
Before she was married, maybe?
Oh yeah, she taught before she was married, but and she could have taught there. I'm not really sure, but there were some other schools that she taught around. She taught in the 20s. We had a picture of her where she taught at Gondik.
Oh.
There's a picture there of a whole bunch of kids and mothers standing there. A number of people. There are probably not so many now, but when we first came back, there was a number of them that remembered Mother as a teacher there. So she taught there, I don't know, a number of years, but she's taught some of these districts right around Eddie Township. So, I don't know how many years she taught, but she started teaching when she was about 16, 17 years old. You just had to go to what they call normal school.